here. Man, there's so many laws on the books that I mean, it's impossible to know them all. And they obviously don't have to know them all. They've got plenty of time to charge you. Speaking of which, I was just charged recently with the federal misdemeanor that Foshin was charged with for filming in the Social Security offices. So now me and Foshin are both facing the same charges in Middle District Court here in Florida. They're federal misdemeanors. They're small, but it's still a charge. It's a charge that we got to go to court now, and that we have to fight. And I'm already on probation now. Luckily, the charges stem from incidents that happened before I was on probation, so it doesn't violate my probation. So that's the only silver lining there. But they waited literally like 10 months to charge me with these things. 10 months, 11 months after the incident, before I even knew I had charges. Um,
Crazy.
and part of the stream tonight was wanting me to announce that to my subs. I've known about it for a little bit. I was trying to wait till the holidays were over to keep it calm. It's just a lot of family time for me, and I don't need a lot of stress on the family because of it. So I tried to keep it calm. But of course, the trolls found out, and they wanted to blast it all over the place and blah. This
Yeah.
is the end of auditing. I mean, come on, man. These guys are so hyperbolic. It's insane. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
They've
he
been,
caught.
they've been
He
saying that for years, bro. They've been
Oh,
saying it for about 2 years.
every year I hear that. Oh, this is the
Yeah.
end of auditing for sure. We got them now, and it boggles my mind, and they're always telling me, how it's illegal to film in the post office and stuff like that. I said, dude, I haven't even been trespassed from a post office in like 3 years, right? And I go in them all the time filming, like literally all the time. You know what I mean? And because some guys
Yeah.
get arrested here and there, they're like, oh, yeah, it's because it's illegal to film in there and you don't know what Poster 7 says and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, geez, dude, I'm like, how many times, exactly how many videos of me going to the post office and not getting trespassed do I need to show you? Like, is there a limit? Because I've got like 150 of them, right? So
Yeah.
is it the limit 300 videos that I do in post offices where I don't get kicked out before you realize that I can do this? Or is it 500? I mean, I'll knock them out. It's no problem. I'll knock them out. I'll put them on the site. Everybody can see them. I'm not getting trespassed. 500, whatever. And then maybe you could quiet your idiotic ramblings down. But they're not going to do that anyway. But yeah, that's what they're saying. So kind of
How did
came out a
that
little bit before I wanted, but whatever.
how does that affect your situation?
Um, yeah,
Or if any?
I mean, it doesn't, since again, the incidents happened before I was sentenced for my probation.
Well, okay.
With probation, it's only if you commit a new crime,
Okay.
after you've been put on probation. So these incidents happened before I was on probation, so that they don't count as
Yeah.
far as that goes. Now, God forbid if I'm to go to court and get convicted, maybe then that might have something to do with it. But I'm pretty up to standard on what these charges are about. And I know DMA, lost his case out there, but if you read his case, the arguments that they put forth, I don't think had any merit, from myself, from my own standpoint. He does have it on appeal. Yes, Peter O'Keefe, we are appealing that conviction in Georgia. I have a motion for new trial in Georgia, March 24th, and I'll get to that in a second. But I want to finish talking about this. The 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 helping point that DMA has in his appeals, uh, that could possibly help him win his case. One of the only things is if the circuit court judges realize that he was in the lobby when they arrested him, right? Because when he was in between those two doors, that's a foyer, right? And we know it's a foyer because if you look at the building, see, when people approach this, they have to approach it from an angle of a lot of different things, right? So, like the Social Security Administration, it has a landlord. Okay, and its landlord most of the time is the Government Services Administration, GSA. GSA is a landlord for a lot of federal buildings, Department of Interior, Department of Labor, even the federal courthouses sublease through the GSA, right? Because the government wants everything to be, um, how should I say, flow nicely, right? So they don't want, 50 different agencies out there leasing properties, right? And making their own
Yeah.
rules and doing their own thing. So they want it to all be uniform, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So the SSA has a landlord named the GSA. And that's why when you go into the SSA, those list of rules that they have, the 41 CFR, those are GSA regulations. Those ain't Social Security Administration regulations, because I believe the CFR for the Social Security Administration is Title 40 in the CFR. I don't think it's 41. 41's the GSA, right? So they're required, if the property is a GSA controlled property, they are required to print those rules and hang them in their lobby. So if you're in the lobby and you see those there, those are the GSA rules, right? And every agency, it says right in 41 CFR, every agency in a controlled GSA building has to follow those rules. And if they don't want to follow those rules, they have to file for what's known as a deviation, right? And this is all in 41 CFR. You can read it. It's all the regulations which have the force of law, right? So let's say the Social Security Administration or the Department of Labor or the Department of Interior, let's say they say, well, we don't want filming in our lobbies. We got the whole building to ourselves. There's no other tenant agency here, and we want the lobby. Thanks, Peter, buddy. To be not able to be video recorded in, right? They'd have to file for a deviation through the GSA, right? Because again, it's about uniformity, right? So they don't want different rules for different buildings, yada, yada, yada. So they have to file for this deviation. The only problem is the deviation is for a specific purpose, right? So they can't just go to GSA and be like, hey, yo, brother, I want to ban filming in my lobbies for the rest of the time, until mankind is no longer, you know what I mean? So the deviation has to be for a specific purpose, and it has to be for a specific time frame, right? It can't be just like, hey, I want to ban filming forever in my lobby. Oh, yeah, cool, dude. That's cool. Go ahead. You know what I mean? So that's how sometimes you have to look at some of the stuff. And where I was getting at is the building specifications, right? So if the government leases a building, even if it's from, let's say they went to Fake Mike Real News and they said, dude, we love your property, we want to rent it from you, to house the government agency in there. There's certain things that have to be met, right? Because you can't have no security measures in that building, right? It's a federal building. It's got to have security measures, right? It's got to have places for people to come in and get services and stuff like that. So there's qualifications that are needed, right? And in the foyer, it's a specific set distance between those two sets of doors, right? And the reason for that is for air conditioning and dust and snow and stuff like that. Like they want you to install grates or mats in between those doors for snow, right? Because they don't want you tracking snow into the lobby where it's tile and people are going to slip and fall and sue them. So there's got to be that distance in between those doors with certain things. A mat for snow, the air. Um, I don't want to say compression, but there's got to be. I want to say it's like 70 cubic feet or something like that, just off the top of my head. I'm probably wrong. You can find them all on the GSA website. They have building specs and all that stuff, all their manuals that they use, for when they rent a building or construct a building, that sort of thing. Air quality. UK lady says thanks. Uh, Jim Buzz, I saw you called me, buddy, but I'm on live here, so I didn't answer. Um, so yeah, so we're going at it totally different than DMA did, but his saving grace, and I think it could possibly save him, is if the judges realize that he was in a lobby and not in the foyer. Now they didn't introduce any kind of evidence as such to that fact. So he can't bring it up now at appeals. You can only bring up the evidence and stuff that
Mm.
was brought up during the trial. You can't introduce new evidence and introduce new witnesses at the appeals level. Um, so it's going to be iffy. But yeah,
Wasn't he allowed to be in the areas he was, though? Right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah. So
the GSA rules are very specific: lobbies, foyers,
yeah,
corridors, entryways, right? And so,
how can they ignore that fact? It's beyond
but
me.
yeah, well, and again, I don't want to talk too much about it because it's
Yeah.
my
Okay.
defense, but
Right.
everybody has rules, right? And buildings have rules as well, right? There's got to be enough entryways, right? You got to have enough fire exits, right? You got to have bathrooms, you got to have water fountains, you got to have elevators, you got to have all this stuff, right?
Due process. Yeah.
Right.
Due process.
Right. So even buildings that are inanimate have rules that need followed, right? When they build them, when they lease them, they got to have certain things. Just like a McDonald's, it's got to have a kitchen area, right? It's got to have a bathroom. It's got to have a seating area, right? You're not going to go into a McDonald's that doesn't have these things, right? They have to have them. And
Right.
in government buildings, they have to have certain things in there as well. ADA doors are a perfect example. Got to have ADA doors on the building, right, at the main public entrance. So, um, yeah, so that's that on my federal charges. I'll keep everybody appraised as we go along, as you know we always do. Um,
Yeah, but you know what? You know what? Anybody can sit at home and FOIA request cameras from footage from public buildings, right? So just because the fact that you're there has somehow created a whole lawsuit and a crime and an arrest and
well, here's the
a
thing, and
win in court. That's
here's the
crazy.
here's the thing. You could go into that same area, those same areas that we did, openly recording. You could go into those same areas, secretly recording,
Yeah,
and there'd be nothing that they could do. There would be absolutely no law broken. The Federal Wiretap Act and the Florida Wiretap Act both need an expectation of privacy in order to qualify for the oral part of the wiretap statute, right? Because when you're out in public or wherever, when it's your person and it's talking about like a person to person conversation, the limit is an expectation of privacy, right? So if me and fake Mike, we went over into the corner of the room and talked all hush hush, that would show an expectation of privacy, right? But
right,
if we're just out in the lobby and there's other people around and I'm like, yo, fake Mike, my social security number is such and such, there's no expectation of privacy there, right? So if I'm secretly recording and I record that, that's not against the law, right?
right.
Um, it's definitely going to be an interesting case. Um,
Sorry, Rogue. Somebody said my sound was low, so I hired it. Is it too high now, or is it better?
no, no, I can hear you good, and it was a little bit
Okay.
low, but
All right.
I didn't know if you could raise it or whatever. But yeah, I am free. There's a link to join, my friend. Here you go. There it is, and yeah, that's basically what tonight's stream was about. I wanted to talk about Annapolis audit. He got railroaded, retaliation. Again, they're retaliating against me and Foshin. Because we go into other federal buildings, we go into post offices, we go into the VA, and these places have very similar regulations, CFR regulations. And as you guys know, the CFR has the same weight as law as far as that goes, right? No, Dummy Kruger, I do not plan to represent myself. I do have a public defender, federal public defender. Um, Now, I don't mind using public defenders because I know what I want out of the case, right? And I do my own research so I know what to bring to him. So he doesn't come to me and say, you know, unfortunately, like DMA's lawyer said, oh, I think we should challenge it because it's vague. But the statute wasn't vague at all. It's not vague at all. And,
And also, he did things behind his back as well, right? You need to watch out for that.
right,
Like he
right.
did things
So,
without his permission, right?
right,
Or
exactly.
knowledge, even. So you have to watch out. You have to watch them.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, if you know what you're doing, like, okay, for example, in Georgia, when I got convicted of the felony there, I had a public defender there. I had him, I did the case pro se up until the trial part. And because I wanted to make sure that I had everything I need, should I need to file an appeal, I brought on the public defender. And when they called me the first time, they're like, "Oh yeah, we could probably settle this, or get some kind of plea deal." And I told them, I said, "No." I said, "That's not going to happen." I said, "There's two things that's going to happen. Either they're going to dismiss, or I'm going to, go for not guilty." Okay, that's what I want. Obviously, they convicted me, and we're appealing that, for different reasons. But um, if you tell them exactly what you want and what's going to happen, because again, these people work for you, right?
Are
And
you able to record that conversation between you and your lawyer, like as proof, maybe
um, you know,
if
I don't
needed?
think so. I don't think so because we meet in their private office, and that's considered, a private area. So I don't think that.
Unless they gave you permission to, maybe.
Right, unless they gave you permission to, which then it would be fine. Um, but like I don't even you know worry about that sort of thing.
Is it you're using them for the small things that don't really matter because you're able to keep an eye on them, and then for something more serious, you get a proper lawyer or whatnot?
Right, right. Yeah, if I'm facing, a life sentence, then I want to pay
Yeah,
for my lawyer. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But like these are federal misdemeanors. You know what I mean? It's like literally
right,
the lowest possible charge you could ever get.
right.
You know what I mean? So it's not like, um, we need to hire, big guns. Like
Yeah,
Johnny
yeah,
Cochran. If the camera don't fit, you must acquit. You know.
yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
I
So
was I wanted to ask you, Rogue, what do you think about if someone was to fight one of these cases? You could put a number of these cases under this and argue, hey, for F CFR, F the case law. I'm arguing on the Constitution and the supremacy clause of the Constitution. Do you think that would be beneficial?
well, I mean, yeah, it just depends. Like everything is specific, right? So that's what the case law stuff's about. Is what they call a fact pattern, right? So if the facts of me and the facts of DMA are very similar, right? So even though that case is a Colorado case and isn't in my district, they could still use that as persuasive authority, because the fact pattern matches so much, right? So when the courts look at stuff, when they decide court cases, they look up to their area immediately, right? And if they don't see nothing in their area, then they'll go outside of their area to like the First Circuit, Ninth Circuit, or something along those lines. Um, and then if they can't find anything at all, that's when they start making the case law themselves as far as that goes. um, first timer or whatever. But they always try to look for the cases that match, right? And that makes it easier for them. That's that stared the whatever, however you pronounce it. I never pronounce it right. But precedent, right? Um, and then so if you can't find those, then you find cases that talk about the subjects that you want to talk about, right? Or that are relevant to your case, right? So even though this case was decided, like, say for example, Brandsburg v. Hayes, that case was decided about a reporter having the immunity to not give up confidential sources. And the court said no. If these confidential sources have information that the government needs, then you have to give them up, right? You don't have that privilege. So, but in that court case, it also stated that the general public and the press have pretty much the same right of access, right? So when I go into court coming up, and we're talking about me being able to be in the city hall, I'll point to that case and say, well, look, the Supreme Court here said that the press and the public have the same right of access, right? Because there is no case on point for an auditor going into a city hall and recording. The closest thing they got is Sheets versus Punta Gorda, where they talked about non-public forum, and even then, if the people, even because the trolls always say it, they point to it and say, oh, you can't film in city hall because Sheets versus Punta Gorda, but that's not entirely true. If they read the ruling that the judge handed out, she says specifically that Andy had a right to film in city hall, that he could film the building, the walls, the floor, the ceiling, the artwork. The ordinance in Punta Gorda was about filming people without their consent, but you could film any part in the building, right? As long as you weren't filming people without their consent. Now, of course, she was wrong in that.
Well, yeah. How do they police the dash cams? They're filming people all day long.
Well, no, this is inside the building, Futoy.
All right. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yep. So, but she's wrong there, because if you're in a public area and you could see it and you could film it, you don't need permission, right? If I could film a piece of artwork and I turn my head to the right and somebody's there, I could film them as well, because we're in public. There's no expectation of privacy. Right. I don't need your consent, right? So she got that part wrong, but from other cases that we've seen, she seems to have not clear education on constitutional issues. Thanks, dummy.
Hey, Sheriff County, this is Sheriff County Cop Watch, and I got to admit I was wrong. It is not the post office federal building that they're charging Rogue Nation with filming and disobeying orders by a federal employee. It's the Social Security office, and it was mentioned to me by McLinnis that I need to go back into all the dates they have listed. There's 8 charges for not listening to a federal employee and for filming. And he is correct. I'm an idiot. It is not the post office. It is the Social Security office. And I'm going to put this clip in here by Foch and the Good, Joshua Joseph Gray. This is a public service. He was personally told by Homeland Security, you cannot do it. And this is the first, actually there's a video before this video that started it all, where he was personally told, and then it looks like Rogue and this is a public service, kept on doing it anyways, and that's what triggered them to do the list of charges. I finally found the charge. I found out what the punishment could be. The punishment could be fine. Doesn't even say how much. That's kind of scary. And then it could be 30 days per charge. So this is very interesting. I am putting this information out here because I am just blown away that the people involved in this have not made a video to let everybody else know that is auditing, that stay the fuck away until they find out what the fuck's going to happen here, because I don't think this is going to stop. I did a little bit of research on YouTube, but I think somebody else in the USA just got popped for this bullshit too. Yeah, this is nuts, man. This is, who's going to be next? I know they did it here in Florida. Many auditors did, and then nationwide, but it's real deal. The CFRs are real. Look it up. You have to listen to the federal employee, and you cannot record. Of course, it's just like the DMVs here. They say that you're going to get their information and spread it. So I don't know. And it's very scary. And again, it's very scary because, Rogue is on probation for filming at the prison in Georgia. So this is very, very interesting. Usually when you're on probation, and if you get a speeding ticket, that's fine. But not when you have an actual misdemeanor charge. It is a misdemeanor, but again, it's very interesting the way they word what can happen. It can be an unlimited fine, doesn't say how much, and 30 days per charge. So I'm getting the information out there because people fucking need to know, because this shit is happening quick. Court is literally, you guys can go on Pacer for the federal court. It's in Orlando, as you see there, and it's already in January. They're going to court, man. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. So, very interesting. I'm trying to get the information out there because I don't want to see anybody else get fucked on this. And free speech and free press is dead, but it is not the post office. I'm telling you, I think they are going to get on. I think they're going to do it all federal buildings. I think they are going to move this over to federal post office because like I said in the other video, that I have heard some videos where they talk about, did you get a permit? And again, if you look it up, a couple years ago for federal lands, YouTubers were doing videos and they didn't get a permit. They made money off their videos and they were taken to court. The YouTubers won, but then the government appealed it and then the government won. So I don't think this shit is going to stop. I think this is how they're going to shut everybody down, sadly. So I am trying to get the information out there because I'm really appalled that they did not let people know. Wait the fucking minute until we find out what the hell is going to happen. Luckily and unluckily, this is going to happen quick. Like I said, court is already, and anybody that can go to this court hearing, absolutely go. This is already going to be in January next year. So, that's what I'm doing, and I hope he doesn't get fucked on probation violation, because that would suck, because I believe his probation for the thing up in Georgia was pretty freaking heavy, man. So we will see, but stay the fuck away from the Social Security offices for now until we find out what happened, and you're dealing with the feds, man. They hardly ever lose. Like, hardly ever.
What's your specific question? Because your activity is still prohibited even by that.
Okay. Well, I would just take exception to it. So, okay. So subsection C. Okay. So I was in the lobby that day. Well, I was in the foyer and the lobby. Yep. Well, technically, I guess I was in the corridors also, depending on what you're going to call a corridor. Okay. And it says recognizing the fact the public is allowed to photograph the interior building entrances, lobbies, and foyers. Okay. So this is carving out an exception for the press.
There is. Yes. However, if you look at right here, yes, for example, SSA, which is SSA. SSA has rules that prohibit photography and videotaping in its spaces. Yep. You can record the
and these are the exceptions that make it okay to.
But this agency has specific rules that you cannot record in their spaces. And
this is the specific exception right there.
This is for other federal buildings. It specifically addresses Social Security Administration.
It does, and it's saying right there that it's allowed.
It's giving certain exemptions, and you can record on the exterior of the facility and certain areas inside of federal buildings, not this federal building. So an SSA has look, and I'm going to explain this to you.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's why I'm here, for clarity.
Okay, so I don't want to hem you up or anything like that. I want you to have a clear understanding of the law and our interpretation of it, so you don't get in trouble and we just.
Yeah, I'm just here for clarity. Okay. I want my constitutional rights respected, and that's it.
And I respect them. Yeah, so I'm going to explain to you. So for Social Security Administration, they have rules that prohibit photography and videotaping in spaces. Similarly, many in like courtrooms, you can't go in a federal courtroom with cameras. It's still a public building, you just can't. They prohibit it. They have signs saying they prohibit it. Their guards will tell you they prohibit it. Our guard here is a representation of the federal government. She told you cannot record in here. And there's even signage that say you cannot record. Right? So that day specifically, you're in violation of, because you did not get their exclusive permission to record inside their space. You're in violation because you failed to obey the signs that are posted that says that you cannot record. And you're in violation of her direct order as a representative of the federal government to stop recording and exit the facility if you do not have further lawful business to conduct with the Social Security Administration.
Okay, I understood everything you said. I would take issue with, this being, this prohibiting that, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, yes. Like you can go to certain federal buildings, they have art up, certain arts.
Well, the thing is there's public information in there, so, access to public information, that's not. It shouldn't be withheld because I have a camera. I shouldn't be discriminated against because I'm a member of the press.
No, you're not being discriminated against because you're a member of the press. You just cannot, in protection of the public's information, people conduct private business with the Social Security Administration. Their Social Security numbers, their medical information, stuff like that. So in protecting their information, you cannot record in there.
But I mean, I wasn't in an area that I could get any of that information.
But you were, because when you walk around the lobby, which you're not supposed to be recording there anyways, there's people at the windows, you can get their information, they're discussing personal information.
But I didn't.
I'm not saying that you did this specific incident or not.
Fair enough.
Why it's prohibited, why you can't.
Well, okay.
You understand that?
Yeah, no, I understood I understand everything that says. I'm just, my position is that information at the top of the page about the Social Security Administration, that doesn't negate what it says at the bottom of the page. You know what I mean? So we're just agreeing to disagree is all I'm saying right now.
Right. Yeah. So, but you still cannot record inside the facility. It'd be in violation of 41 CFR.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. So can you provide me your name?
I'm not going to be doing that, no.
Okay, so you're agreeing you're not going to be going in there and recording?
I'm not going to go back into this location and record until I get further clarification.
Like I said before, a judge can explain that to you a lot better than I can.
Yeah.
I could arrange that meeting for you if you'd like.
I appreciate that. And could you
get more clarity?
No. Could you give me the spelling of your name so I don't, I don't want to misrepresent you when I publish the story?
You can spell it however you want.
Come on, man.
But I could, if you don't understand my explanation and you're going to be doing this again, it's probably best that a judge explains to you a lot better than I can.
Yeah, I'm not interested in giving up my Fourth Amendment rights. I'm just not. And 901.151 gives me the right to not give up my information.
Okay, I'm not requesting to search you or anything.
Yeah, no.
I'm just requesting information to arrange that.
Yeah, no, and I'll seek further clarity, and then maybe I'll take you up on that offer to give me a ticket.
Well, that's my understanding why I came out here. I'm not going to be wasting my time in coming out here.
No, you're here.
Your request.
Yeah, so. you're here because I was seeking clarity. I think that's reasonable.
And did you get that clarity?
I did. Yeah, from you. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Do you have any other questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, so you are trespassed from this location now. From this point on, you cannot come back on the property, and you will be arrested, unfortunately.
Okay. I understand.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Have a good day.
And FERIZ.
Yep. That's good.
Is that it?
Yep.
Is Mohammed with one M or two?
However you want to spell it. It doesn't matter to me.
It doesn't matter to you? Your name doesn't matter to you?
I don't take offense if you misspell it.
And what was your identification number again?
1549.
All right, so can I get your information through Freedom of Information Act request? Yeah. So you don't want to save me that trouble and just give me the spelling of your name?
Do you want to save me the trouble and give me your name?
What trouble am I saving you from?
Because if you're going to come back out here again.
Well, I'm not going to. You just told me I can't. So, of course, I'm not going to come back. Yeah, well, until that gets lifted, of course. Okay. Yeah, I'm not here to violate the law in any way.
And I'm here to make you understand the law. I don't want any issues either. So I'm here to explain it to you further.
I'm not here to violate the law in any way. I want to be crystal clear about that. I'm here for my constitutional rights. That's it. Okay. That's it.
All right.
So you don't want to give me your name? You're going to make me do the request? So was it 1 M or 2?
1.
Service Department Homeland Security, this is Alexis.